Oh. All right, I've been incredibly excited to do this video. I've always been really fascinated by experimental typography, but for whatever reason, I have never even tried to do it myself. But I thought it'd be a lot of fun to kind of record the process of me trying these different experiments and just seeing what happens. So really, these videos are just gonna be experiments. I don't know if they're gonna be good or they're gonna be bad. We're just gonna have to find out. So for this episode, I wanted to try to freeze this layout, and we'll see what happens. So whether these turn out really cool or really bad, you're gonna see it either way. I'm hoping that we'll get something really cool out of it. If I do get some interesting results with this, I'll definitely make something cool with it and show you guys at the end. Without further ado, let's get to it. So it's been about 5 hours now. I'm gonna bring everything in one at a time just because it's ice and I don't wanna have to deal with a bunch of stuff melting all over the place. So I'll do one at a time just so I can get in here, show you guys kind of what it looks like, take some pictures, and then put it back in the freezer before it starts melting and everything gets really messy. All right, so let me show you what I got. Alrighty, so I got the first one right here. I have my second camera up here just out of shot, just because this lens is so distorted, so I didn't think it'd be the best way to kind of show off what's going on. So we're gonna switch to this camera. So as you can see, I just put it in a glass and froze it. It's actually rock solid. The text is pretty illegible, but I do really like all this kind of like ink bleeding that's happening. It's really cool. I kind of wasn't expecting that to happen, but pretty happy with that. There's a couple like air bubbles. I don't know if you can see that, which are kind of cool. Led to some interesting effects. You even have some smaller ones here where the ink kind of bled up into them. I don't know, it just looked really interesting. And it does look like there is a crack running up here. You can see you might be able to see all the cracks better down here. But you can't really tell with just kind of how the paper is. You can kind of see a crack down here. Not gonna make a whole lot of a difference. And that's kind of what I was hoping would happen, is there'd be more cracks and fractures. But I mean, this is still pretty cool. I might be able to do something with this. I think with the different opacities of the ink, I might be able to do some like cool gradient stuff, something like that. I don't know. I'm gonna play around and see what I can come up with. But that's what we ended up with. So let's move on to the next one. All right, so this was the second one that I tried. You can't really see it because I had to put it in a pan. So we'll switch to this camera. I don't know how hard it is to see or how easy it is to see. There's some like kind of nice texturing that's going on just because of like the frosting. But really, that's about the only cool thing that's really going on. There's some little bit of ink bleed that's kind of interesting. I like that you can actually still read the text, and it's just a little bit, you know, bled out, which is kind of cool. There's this really interesting air bubble right here, which is kind of funny. I thought that maybe this would turn out a little bit more exciting, but really this wasn't exactly what I was hoping to get out of this. I do want to try taking a hammer and seeing if I can crack this. So give me 1 second. Let me grab something real quick. All right, I've got a hammer. Let's see what happens. I don't know. Oh, there we go. Now that looks like it's gonna be as good as it's gonna get, which still not cool, but that was a little bit better. It's also kind of melting, so that's not helping either. I'm gonna put it back in the freezer. Maybe something else comes out of it, but I think this one's a lost cause. Anyways, let's move on to the next one. Alrighty, so this was the third one that I did, and I actually did 2 of these where I just put the paper in a plastic container just to kind of see what happened. Now, I think this is actually pretty cool. You can still see the ink bleeding. You can still read everything pretty well. And you get these nice textures where, you know, the water didn't freeze like perfectly level. And so there's like little kind of ridges and stuff that are kind of reflecting light in a cool way. Also a little bit of frost kind of going up here where it's a little bit deeper, which is actually pretty cool. So actually what I want to do with this one, I want to take pictures of how it is exactly right now, but I kind of want to take a hammer to it and see if we can fracture it and get some cool, interesting cracks and fractures going through it. But let me pull out the other one of these and we'll see what that one looks like as well. All right, I think this one actually might be my favorite so far. So it's pretty similar to the last one, but there's a lot more frosting going on in this area, and there's some air bubbles and stuff, and it just looks way more interesting. It looks like there's actual depth, and it really obscures this part of the text, which is, I think, really interesting. It's kind of almost illegible, but honestly, I think that kind of adds to the character of it. I mean, really, since the word is frozen, it's all about being frozen. I think this one kind of encapsulates that the best, which is really cool. And you can still get some of that, you know, ink bleeding effect and everything. I think just like the other one, I want to take pictures of this as it is, and then crack it and kind of see what happens. So let me go through and take pictures of all of these as they are, and then I might make some adjustments from there. I'll try to record that just so you can see that happening, and then we'll go from there. So I just finished taking all the pictures that I need right now, and now it's time to break some stuff. Oh, that was a lot more wet than I was expecting, but that was interesting. All right, I'll take it. Didn't know I was gonna get wet for it, but okay. So I'm gonna take some pictures of this and then we'll move on to the next one. Alrighty, we're gonna do that one more time and we're gonna see what happens. Hopefully I don't get soaked this time. Oh, okay. Okay. Getting soaked, so I'm gonna stop. But this is actually pretty cool. I don't know if you can really tell, but there's been a couple different fractures, like especially like right here. I think that's pretty much exactly what I had in mind. So I'm gonna take some pictures of that, and I think I'm gonna try to use this. We'll see. I'm gonna take one of the pictures that I've taken, and then I'm gonna make a cool design with it. Let's see what happens. All right, so the first thing I did is I dropped in all the pictures that I thought about using. I quickly decided on two that I was most interested in. Both were the cracked versions that I had in the plastic containers. So I just started editing those, sharpening them up, removing the color, and then I added a color gradient just to make it a little bit more interesting. So I made it blue just so it felt cold and icy. And I just repeated the process for both of those. I ended up wanting to crop it just because it felt a little bit too empty, so I figured a square frame would be a little bit easier to work with, a little bit better, and I can just post it on Instagram straight away without any editing. And then I started adding some overlays just to kind of fill out the space and make it a little bit more interesting, kind of like build a scene. I moved it around to get into a space that I felt was appropriate. There was a crack that I wanted to kind of follow through in the overlay that I was using that was also in the photograph that I took. So I just kind of messed around with that a bit just to kind of get it exactly what I wanted. And then I came up with the idea of possibly using an outline of the original design just so it's a little bit more legible. So I ended up not really liking the outline on the word frozen, but I liked how it emphasized the smaller words so you could actually kind of read them. So I ended up getting rid of the outline on the top and then keeping the words at the bottom. And I just added some effects just to make them look a little bit more cohesive with the design. But after that, that was pretty much it. So this is the final design that I ended up coming up with using the photographs that I took. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I have never even attempted to do anything like this before, so this is the first time for me. But honestly, I had a lot of fun and I can't wait to do it again. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it too. If you have any suggestions on what I could do better or things that I should try to do next, I would greatly appreciate it. I already have a couple of ideas on what I want to do next, so you'll definitely be seeing more of this series. Hopefully you found this video interesting, and if you did, I'd appreciate it if you would check out the rest of my channel and then consider subscribing. But that's it for this video. Later.